everyone. Today we have Joe Strub with us from CharterWest Bank. And thank you, Joe, for being here today. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me. So I am Joe Strub with CharterWest Bank, and I've been a mortgage lender for more years than I care to say, but about 30 years I've been in the mortgage lending business. Great experience, love doing my job, enjoy working with people. I'm from this area, and so I have a passion to help people. I have a passion to help people become homeowners. And that's something that's very rewarding and has been, and that's why I've stuck with this business for so long.
So you got stories to tell.
I do have stories to tell. Over that many years, a lot of things happen, and you see a lot of things, and a lot of customers, a lot of borrowers, and so it's made for many good situations and a lot of learning opportunities. So I'd like to think that those all have built on each other, and it allows me to help the next customer in that has unique situations with their specific situation.
Have you had repeat customers?
You know, that's the nice thing about this business, and it's very rewarding. I don't know exactly what the word you want to use is, but having been in it this long, I've helped not only the same customers multiple times purchase homes, but then I've had relatives of those customers, sons and daughters of those initial customers. So that's a really nice thing to see families and friends coming back to you after you've helped the first person. It always just makes you feel good that they were happy with the service and the products that they got. So that's always a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's something very meaningful. I can truly say it's an honor to have them, come back because they trust you. Mm-hmm. That means that they trust you.
Right. I have had that happen many times over, again, 30 years of doing this. People will seek me out and find me and to use my services again. And so that's always a nice feeling. Makes you think you're doing the right things.
Definitely, yes.
Yes.
And so you've been in the business for 30 years. I'm pretty sure a lot has changed since then.
Automation has been the big change in all of this. When I started, we did pretty much everything face-to-face, by hand wrote applications, did all the verifications by hand and by mail. The process has changed significantly since then. There's a lot of times, fortunately, I have some repeat customers, so I know who they are, but there's many times everything is done by email. Our online process typically starts with an online application. I said that wrong. Our application process starts with an online application. But I have a lot of hands-on. I'm a big hands-on person, so I like to talk to people. I offer to meet with them if they have any desire to do that. If they don't, everybody's busy these days. If you've got jobs and children and events and baseball games and things to go to. So they want to get their part done, hand it over to me, and let me handle all the details. And so even though I'd like to meet with them in person to get to know them and build that relationship, the process has changed. And so electronic technology has changed that process for all of us. And literally, you can go through the whole process right up to closing without ever having to meet face-to-face these days. That doesn't happen very often. I mean, I find ways to meet with my customers if I can, and because I enjoy that part of it. But if that doesn't happen, we can take it all the way start to finish and make the process very easy.
And I mean, it's just convenient sometimes because I've had people where I ask them, hey, so when's your day off? Maybe we could schedule a couple appointments to go see houses. And they're like, I don't have a day off.
Right.
Monday through Sunday, I'm working.
That brings up kind of a good point, is because people are busy and don't have time to deal with this in the typical 8 to 5 fashion when most people are working. And whether or not that's 8 to 5 or 4 to midnight or whatever your shift is, everyone's busy during work and outside of work. And one of the things that I like to pride myself in is that I'm available when the people are available, whether that's during the day, over their lunch hour, if it's in the evening, if it's on the weekends. And that's changed too. Banker's hours for a mortgage lender don't really exist. I like to think that I work the same shift that you do. When the customers are available, whether that's an evening, whether that's a weekend, I try to be available for those situations just to make it easier for the customer and more convenient for them.
And I'm a witness to that, because the other day we were talking about a transaction. It was like 6 probably or 7. And there we were, talking about how to help our client better. So...
Well, we met with a client at about 6 o'clock in the evening. That was my birthday.
It was his birthday.
My wife wasn't happy that I was working on my birthday, but, that's just what you have to do nowadays. Your service has to be better because we all offer essentially the same products. I mean, the basics are the same. CharterWest has some specialty products that are different from other places, but, most of your customers are looking for the same conventional or FHA type of loan. And so the only differentiation is what kind of service you give. And so I've decided that is kind of going to be what sets me apart from other lenders, is to be available when the customer needs me to be available or when the realtor needs me to be available.
Joe, thank you so much for mentioning conventional and FHA. How would you explain to someone that is asking, what's the difference?
That it's kind of like speaking a different language. The process is the same, but different situations, apply to different borrowers. So as we start the process as a loan originator, we start to evaluate things like credit and funds for closing, the amount of money you'll need for your down payment and closing, your credit scores, various hot topics on the application lead us towards the product that best fits what you, the borrower's situation is. So I never know going in what product might fit your needs the best. But as we get through those steps and review the different details of your application, it helps me better tailor my recommendations and your options to which product fits your situation best. Specifically, FHA is tailored to the person that maybe doesn't have as much money down, may not have as high of a credit score. You can still have good credit score and be a good FHA candidate, but typically those are the kind of candidates that fit into the FHA type of product. Conventional is more, little bit more down payment type of customer, although conventional offers a 3% down payment option, which is lower than FHA's down payment minimum. But again, to the borrower, you won't see a lot of difference on the outside. It's for our internal kind of purposes to kind of flow you through to the product that gives you the best interest rate, allows you to qualify for the loan, maybe has a little bit lower mortgage insurance. If you have a smaller down payment and are carrying mortgage insurance, different situations, different loans will offer better rates, better mortgage insurance rates, and so forth.
Do you have any help for people that don't have credit? It's not a bad thing, they just like to pay everything cash. They save up their money and here you go, give me my keys to the car. But it doesn't work the same with the house. So
right.
Is there any help you provide?
Yes, and you're right. We've run into that quite a bit where people are adverse to having credit or even opening credit and consequently don't have a credit score. In the mortgage world, that can be it's not a bad thing that you don't have credit, but in purchasing a home, generally you have to have some type of a credit score. One of the things that I like to offer is kind of some counseling. And so when borrowers say maybe they want to wait until they do this or until this happens, I encourage people to get into their lender as soon as they're even thinking about buying a house, because I'm more than willing to sit down with you and take a look at your current situation and then lead you to where you need to be to qualify for that house. And if you don't have credit, I can give you some suggestions and some options that some short term that are real quick and easy to establish your credit. Some take a little bit longer, and we can lay that plan out and help you get a credit score. Now, one of the things that we do offer, or one of the options, is non-traditional credit. So you maybe don't have a credit card or a car loan or a past home loan, but if there are regular payments that you make to, for example, your car insurance or your utilities through the city, those are ways we can establish credit and get you a credit score to make you eligible for a house loan.
Oh, okay. So they would need just documentation of everything that they have paid, for example, their rent or a phone bill.
Right. So we would get contact information for that vendor, whoever they're making payments to, on typically a monthly basis, and we'd want it to have been for the last 12 months. And then what we do is we coordinate with the credit bureaus and contact those vendors and get verification that our borrower has paid this payment on time every month for the last 12 months. And then the credit bureau establishes a credit score for that person. So it's not complicated, but it's a process. And so we would need to get the name of that utility company or their car insurance agent, and then a phone number to contact them to start that process.
So it's a process. Just be patient.
Patience is a big thing. Yes.
Yeah.
As much technology has taken us to instantaneous answers and results, the home buying process still, in certain circumstances, still can be time consuming from that standpoint.
It's a big investment.
Yeah. It's different than, whether it's buying a car or opening a credit card. This is a long 30-year loan type of situation. And so there are a few extra hurdles to jump over during that process, but they're all doable. And what I like to tell people is, I will help you break it down and just accomplish one thing at a time. If we have a series of things that have to be done, we can break it down and just deal with one situation at a time. And they don't necessarily have to be good or bad situations. It's just whatever that situation is, we can deal with them one at a time and get you there.
So pretty much what I'm hearing is you don't just close the door and tell them no, you can't. That's it.
I like to think that I rarely say no. I might say no right now, but I like to think that I'm my title is mortgage loan advisor. Now that's kind of a fancy title, but I actually kind of take that to heart in that I'm here to coach you or advise you of, if today's not the day, that's okay. Let's get you to the point, whether that takes 6 months or 6 years, let's work towards that goal of getting you in a situation where you're qualified to purchase a home. Yeah, I like to think of my customers as long-time relationships. And so I have spent hours with the client that doesn't qualify today, but by spending that time with them, I'm hoping that I can help them correct whatever issues. And it might not be anything bad. It could be something that they don't have credit, or maybe they haven't saved up the down payment, whatever it might be. I'd like to think that I'm advising them so that they can move forward at whatever pace they want to, or as fast as they can to get to the point where they can buy a house.
And how soon should they contact you when they're thinking, I want to buy a house, I'm tired of renting? How soon should they contact you?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I repeat it and repeat it, that once you're thinking about buying a house, you should come and talk to me, or whatever lender you're dealing with, because again, your lender should help you get to the point where you are ready to purchase the home and qualified and everything's ready to go. So you can't really start too early. If you're thinking about buying the house, you should be talking to your lender and making sure that everything is laid out, especially if you're a first-time buyer. If you've been through the process before, you still should come and see your lender, because there's still can be unique situations out there. But if you're that first-time buyer, definitely recommend that you come and see me as early as you can. And you're not wasting my time, and you're not committing to anything. It's just a starting point so that you know where you stand, what you can afford, and what the requirements are going to be. We don't like surprises at the last minute. And too many times people have delayed, and then the right house comes along, but they haven't done the background stuff with me, and they miss the opportunity to get that dream house that they've been looking at across the street and wanted to buy it, and the opportunity comes and they weren't prepared. So starting ahead of time is key to the whole process.
Definitely is better to find out what you got to work on than not know at all.
Agreed.
And for first-time homebuyers, there's programs out there, right? Do you guys help with any?
Absolutely. So Iowa has a program called Iowa has a program called the Iowa Finance Authority that assists buyers in their purchasing efforts. The biggest thing is their down payment assistance program. And there's two different programs. One is a grant. The other is a loan. There's no interest on that loan and no payments until your first mortgage is paid off. So it is a loan, but it's up to 5% of the purchase price. So a lot of times that will be enough to get first-time buyers over the hump with their down payment and closing costs. If not, there's even some other options that we can suggest, and in working with the realtor, we can kind of figure out ways to get them in. Nebraska offers a similar program to Iowa called NIFA, and it as well is a down payment assistance program. Theirs is a loan as well. That one does require monthly payments, but they're on very good terms. It's a 10-year repayment at 1% interest rate. Okay. So the payments are very low. And it can usually work into a borrower's budgeting plans with the purchase of the home. So several different programs. They're income driven, so there's different income levels depending on how many people are in the household. But talk to your lender, and we can see if that's an option for you. So those are probably the two most frequently used buyer down payment assistance programs, first-time home buyers. Some of those programs even are available to second-time buyers as well. Just slightly different parameters for the program to qualify.
Oh, okay. So it's not free, but it's it's a good way to get the key to your house.
Right. It's options. We like to present options, and we let the buyer ultimately make the decision of what route they want to go. We give all the options that are available to them, and might even give some kind of recommendation, but ultimately it's up to the borrower to decide that they want to go this direction. And I've had people decide they don't want to use the down payment assistance program, so we've come up with other ways to make it work out. And hopefully that those, just by providing options, it allows buyers to make an informed decision as to what fits their situation best.
And that's the reason why I always tell my buyers communication is so important. Honesty, so that way we can help them. Right.
The more we know, and again, we don't get private, but I mean, the more information that we have financially about our borrowers, the better we can assist them in making the right decisions. Again, it's all about having choices and coming up with the best options for everybody's situation. So as I was saying with the application process, as we review things, we start to kind of figure out what program is going to help them and what programs are available. We'll present those to the buyer, and then they can choose as to what they prefer to use.
Yeah, we're here to help you. Many times I get told, "Oh, you're the one that sells houses." No, I'm the one that represents you.
Yeah.
And it sounds the same with you. You're the one that helps them, guides them through the process.
Right. We're probably just best described as facilitators, I suppose. I mean, our job is just to provide information and then help our buyers get to the purchase table where they're signing loan papers, and hand them those keys. And that's always a good day when you can see the excitement on their face.
Yes, right?
Yes.
It's the best. Because sometimes, like all that paperwork and seeing houses, I understand how it can be overwhelming because it's a big decision. But just getting to closing table and handing them the keys, it's just the best, seeing the smile on their faces.
I think I enjoy closing day just as much, if not more, than some of my buyers do, because, I've been asking them for this document or that document for anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And you get to kind of get a complex about yourself of, man, they're got to be getting tired of me. So it's wonderful when you come to closing that day and everybody's happy and they're in their new house, and it's a great feeling for the lender as well. I mean, and you're excited for those borrowers. You've developed a relationship with them. You know about their children and their activities. And so it's nice to have that relationship and then be able to say you were a part of it and you helped them get into their dream home.
Sometimes it's like a sappy moment because it's like we've been in communication so much, and now it's like we got you to your dream where your goal is accomplished.
Right.
Yeah.
In the best way, I've seen borrowers actually cry, and it's a happy crying, at the closing table. And then you have really helped someone and affected their life. And that stays with you forever. It kind of gives you we do a job. This is a job for us, but we have a personal investment in this because we're affecting people's lives. And so it's a good feeling when you've affected it in a positive way on the closing table and put them into their house.
I think that's when you really pour your heart out into what you do to get to that closing table. It just makes everything worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the late night phone calls and the scrambles are justified at that point.
But to get to the closing table, there has to be a beginning. And what are the requirements when they're applying a loan? Or should I just say, what documents should they bring so they could be prepared?
Again, every situation can be a little bit different, but the general starting point is we like to get a copy of your driver's license, your recent pay stubs, your last couple months of bank statements, and your last year's W-2. Now, sometimes you can add on a tax return or a couple years if they're looking at those down payment assistance programs, the IFA and the NIFA that I mentioned. We need to have tax returns showing that they didn't have ownership, but those can kind of come afterwards. So if you want to prepare to meet with and actually get pre-approved, you'd start out with your driver's license, pay stubs, bank statements, and W-2s. That's always a good starting point to have those documents available. And whether you bring them to me in person, whether you upload them through our application, or you want to email them, or some people even text me pictures. We make it work.
I've seen those pictures. Well, when they send it to me, because sometimes I have to send it to you. So since every situation is different, would it be better if they called you and ask, maybe?
I'm available for anything. So some of my customers come through the realtor. The realtor has shared my application. Some customers call me directly. I share my application with them. Some want to start with a phone call, and I'm totally fine with that. It's really up to the customer. Do you want to talk to me on the phone? That's fine. Do you want to meet with me in person? That's fine. Do you want to just start right out of the gate and get the application filled out? That's fine too. So whatever you're comfortable with is fine with me. If you have some general questions, I'm totally okay answering those questions first and making you comfortable starting the process. When you start the process filling out the application, there's not some obligation or commitment to moving forward. If you get to a point where you're just not ready to move forward, that's okay. But it's always good to just at least start, ask questions, get some basic knowledge, and see, then decide on the next step. You can decide for yourself, is it time to move forward, or what am I going to do, or if I'm going to wait a little bit.
Okay, it's just better to make that move, that first step.
Yeah, just make contact with me, whatever that means to you in being comfortable. Again, if you're comfortable starting with a full-blown application, great. But if it's as simple as just calling and asking some questions, let's start there, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, because that does happen. Yeah. Where can they reach you?
So my cell phone is on all the time, weekends, evenings, and that number is 712-253-5475. And again, I'm available when the customers need me. If I don't answer, please leave a message and let me know who you are and what you're calling about, and then I'll call you back as soon as I am available. The other way you can get a hold of me is through email, and my email is the letter J, and then my last name, Strub, which is spelled STRUB as in boy, @CharterWest.com.
Do you have a Facebook page?
I do have a Facebook page, Kim. Thank you for asking. So if you search for Joe Strub and CharterWest, you should be able to find my Facebook page. And my tagline is "Better Call Joe." So you'll see that on most of my business posts. That's just become kind of a tagline for me. And some people find it humorous, but it's actually a truthful line that I like to use. So better call Joe.
Got a question? Better call Joe.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Joe. And thank you for being here. You've given such great information. I know it's going to be for everybody. So if anybody has any other questions for Joe, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any realtor questions, you can reach out to me at 712-301-1997. Thank you, Joe.
This is awesome. Thanks, Kim.